I know there is a temptation to view today as the opening kickoff of a big game or the launch of some great battle. Some will describe it that way, but I encourage you to do what you can to resist the perception of a competition, to avoid feeding a plot line that would pit one team against another. This isn't the sports page. We're all here to do the people's business. It's a sacred thing, and we're all on the same team today, and in fact, every day. At the outset of every legislative session, I encourage my colleagues in this building to think about the people we are all here to serve. I think about their dreams, their hopes and fears, and I think about what service means, about what effective service can deliver for the workers and families all across New Mexico who were represented here in this building, the entrepreneurs and job creators, the seniors and students, the New Mexicans of every background and belief system. And no, we don't agree on everything, and we don't have to. But I believe that the values we share as New Mexicans still truly unite us. The desire to see our families grow and thrive, the willingness to work hard to enjoy what we earn, the optimism that tomorrow can and will be better than today for ourselves and for our neighbors. In the last 3 years, this legislature and this administration have gotten a lot done. We raised the minimum wage for the first time in a decade. We've guaranteed paid sick leave to every worker in the state. We made early education a key priority and have invested hundreds of millions into the future of our earliest learners. We've invested in new economic sectors, and we've sent thousands more New Mexicans of every age and background to college for free, no strings attached. And I could go on. I could talk for a long time about the good work of the last few years. But we need to talk instead about what people are really feeling. The needs of this moment remain great. The grief, the loss, the volatility brought on by this hideous pandemic has wreaked havoc on the lives of every family, every American, every human being around the planet. And on top of that, inflation, a supply chain crisis, gridlock in Washington. It's all making it harder for everybody, and especially regular working people, to feel safe, to feel comfortable, to feel optimistic. And we all feel it.
You heard a lot of unity language in this speech, saying things like we're all on the same team. That's a clear call for bipartisan action. The governor followed that up with policy items sure to please her GOP colleagues, specifically those proposed tax cuts we talked about earlier. Adrian, is this an important strategy considering how quickly lawmakers will have to move in a 30-day session?
Yeah, I think they're going to have to, what you really focused on is spending. They're really going to have to balance the budget. You mentioned multiple times that they had unbelievable financial resources, largely tied to extraction to the oil and gas industry, which is known to be volatile. And that was warned by the Legislative Finance Committee, in their recommendation and the cover letter from Representative Lundstrom, that we're riding this roller coaster of finances. So I think the message was, we have the money now, let's spend it now before we get another bust.
And it will be hard again, of course, when you're talking about tax cuts to oppose that. Mm-hmm. There may be some folks talking about sure. how the gross receipts tax cut is not really going to have the impact that some people say. But in terms of that bipartisanship, Julianne, considering that the Dems control the governor's office in both the House and the Senate, do you expect them to take a different tact and sort of lead that way or lead by example? Or do you expect it to be the same old?
I think we're going to see the same old. I mean, those of us that get to cover these legislative sessions, we had 3 of them last calendar year. It seems like we have been in session more than out of session. And it seems like it always comes down to those last few days, those last few minutes before things happen. And the things that happen are fairly predictable. So will you see the GOP get new allies from the major party? I doubt it. But I do think you're seeing the governor favor some policies and give wind to some policies that would otherwise go even shorter distances without that.
For sure. Again, 30 days is not a lot of time, and it's a pretty aggressive list of priorities. Crystal, do you think it's realistic what she's trying to get lawmakers to get through in this 30 days? Does this open up the conversation again about maybe not professional paid legislature, but at least 45-day legislative sessions and 90-day legislative sessions, drawing that out a little bit more?
Yeah, even though that the governor was trying to use the theme of bipartisanship in this State of the State address, I think that the overall theme of the governor's current administrative time has been aggressive and progressive. She was able to tout about the fact that every single legislative priority that she's had since the start of her administration, she's been able to achieve as long as the industries that it involves is able to actually agree upon it. There's 2 years ago where the governor had talked about her call on New Mexico PBS on New Mexico in Focus, and I said that year I don't think it's going to happen that cannabis is going to be legalized because the industry wasn't ready. And sure enough, it didn't happen, but it happened the year before because she asked for a special session. Is she going to get things done? Yes. Is it going to be pretty? Absolutely not. There is going to be a lot of collective bargaining or bargaining behind the scenes and putting a lot of things that some of our association individuals or nonprofit executives are not going to like, because in order for her to get things done, she's going to be aggressive and she's going to make, unfortunately, really difficult decisions that will result in enemies. I think that there's definitely work to be done across the aisle. There's no doubt about that. The days of the Clint Hardin Republican is no longer there. Now it's the Trump type of Republican that's in the House, especially with Representative Townsend, making really, really nasty comments about the governor and her administration. But we just don't see that. We just don't see the fact that she's failing at anything. So I think that the aggression, the bulldog, I always like the fact that, I think the governor and I both have the Napoleon complex, being so little, but being so loud at the same time. I really applaud her administration for just getting things done. And I don't doubt that that's going to happen.
Yeah. She did make a point to obviously acknowledge the pain, fatigue, frustration we all have experienced as a result of the ongoing pandemic. But is there anything she needs to do differently when it comes to addressing COVID-19? And again, especially considering whoever ends up getting the primary nomination to run against her next November will surely be hitting her over the head with her COVID response to date. But as we start into a new year, any opportunities any of you all see there?
I'll start really quickly. I don't think that, I think it actually proved on the national level that COVID very much doesn't care about what political affiliation that you have, that the health benefit and the decisions that you make are up to the individual person or region or municipality. So I don't think that there's more that she could do other than provide resources and resources that we need. That's what President Biden's doing now, because he doesn't feel like he won the war on COVID-19. And I think that the governor is going to have to do the same thing.
And Julianne, you mentioned in our Facebook Live, which everybody should go and watch, that there's now movement underway to identify communities in need by zip code even for some additional COVID resources. Do you see a harder push towards that sort of an effort here as we move into 2022?
Certainly. I mean, I think New Mexico was somewhat unique in its approach to public health from the get-go, and that this wasn't going to be just a first come, first served. The people who know get what they need, and the people who don't know don't. But I think you can, keep pushing that agenda. You can do more outreach to folks who don't speak English. You can do more outreach in areas where people can't get treatment. So let's say you get COVID and you're trying to access treatment, and it takes 11 days before someone calls you back. That's still not good enough. And I think the other thing that's really important for the state to consider is that the healthier you were going into COVID, the better your outcomes are. And so those baseline healthy habits and healthy opportunities that we can give people in our state, those continue to be really important and shouldn't get left behind in this sort of emergency status that we find ourselves in.
Appreciate that thought very much. Great way to end. Thanks again to all of our line panelists. As always this week, be sure to let us know what you think about anything we talked about or covered on our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram pages. That's where you can find it and where you can respond. We encourage you to do that, and we always appreciate the feedback.